the registration marks and center crop marks came out much better using the Accurip software. Something you may have noticed on the halftones is that the dots on the grayscale are larger than the dots on the gradient image we burned into the screen. This is how you determine detail. Detail of halftones is measured in frequency, or LPI, which stands for lines per inch. The amount of lines of dots you have per inch determines your LPI. For textile screen printing, you usually print your films between 25 and 55 LPI halftone with a maximum of a 65-line halftone. So now that we know what LPI is, how do we know what screen mesh count to use with the LPI you are using? You just follow this formula. Multiply your LPI number by either 4 or 5, and you will get your minimum screen mesh. So for a 45-line halftone, you'd get either 180 or 225, which means you'll want to expose on either a 200 or 230 mesh screen. To select your LPI and halftone shape, you will need to do this in the software. In Photoshop, select Print with Preview. Click the Show More Options box. Click on the Screen button. Choose the color, which would be black. Next, you can select your LPI or frequency, which would be 45 in this case. Then your shape. You always want to pick either a round or ellipse dot. And finally, you want to pick an angle. We recommend a 22.5-degree angle. The angle is defined as the angle at which the dots are printed in relation to one another. After you have selected your setting, you hit OK, and that feeds the information to the printer. Now, just because we've selected these options, it still doesn't mean the printer will print in halftones without a PostScript printer. You'll still print a gradient line. That's what Accurip is for. Using Coreldraw, the process is similar. From your menu options, pick Print and then Print Separations. Click the Separations box. Click on the color black since that is what you're printing. Then you click on the Advanced button and you can augment the numbers. Here we can change the frequency to 45, angle to 22.5, and you want your resolution at 300. Also, select your shape as either round or ellipse. That's how you select your halftone settings in Corel. Accurip will install into the Programs folder of your computer. Once it's installed, you may open the program up so you can set up your nice new printer to work with the Accurip software. To set up the printer, go to File and then Setup. Once the Setup box opens up, select your printer, which is the Epson 1400. Next, click on the Multi-Black box and make sure that all the color cartridges are turned on. The Accurip software will work on a wide range of Epson printers, which means on any of these printers, you have the ability to select multi-black. For example, if you were working with the Epson 1800, you can select the Photo Black option, and this is what gives us the ability to produce the Tribrid system. Returning back to the 1400 setup, since you are printing black ink from all the cartridges, we recommend sticking with the standard ink coverage, even though you have the option for more or less ink. Next, there's the option for resolution. We recommend going with the medium value. Picking a lower value means the printer will print faster but lay down less ink, which is not helpful in the exposure process. The bidirectional option determines whether the printer prints both directions when the printhead moves across the film or just one direction. Bidirectional will print faster but with a thinner layer of ink. We recommend testing that to see what works best with the prints you are doing. The How is my printer connected box is next. This is where we pick the Epson driver. Select the USB port that shows the Epson 1400 printer. Next, we have the option for How would you like this screened? This is the advantage of Accurip. What you choose in this window overrides your other software programs. So where before you had to go into various print options menus in something like Photoshop and select your angle and frequency, Accurip can do all that for you. You can choose the settings you're going to be using most of the time and stick with those. Most of the time you will be using a 45 or 55 line halftone and the recommended angle of 22.5. By clicking the Lock Screens box, the Accurip software will now override your art programs. If you don't want this to be the case, you need to deselect the Lock Screens box. Once you're all set up, go ahead and do a test print by clicking on OK. Before you print anything from your artwork programs like Photoshop, you need to change your printer. In the Print Options window, select Page Setup, and then Printer, and then select the printer you will be using. This is where it's very important you don't just select the standard Epson 1400, but the newly installed Accurip to Epson 1400. Next, click on the Properties button to change the page size you're printing on, in this case, 13 by 18. We recommend that you select both center crop marks and registration marks from the Options panel. Now it's time to load the film into the printer. Waterproof R film has two sides to it. There's a sticky side and a smooth side. You can determine the sticky side by wetting your fingers and touching the corner of the film. If your finger sticks to the film, that's the inkjet receptive side, which must be facing up. Move your paper size guide over, place the film in, and then move the guide back over, snugly against the film, to keep it in place. When using waterproof film, only place one sheet in at a time, otherwise they'll stick to each other. With the film loaded, hit OK to print. If you bring up the Accurip software, you'll see the print appear in the software. First, it rips the artwork, and then begins to print. And there you have it, a nice solid back film printed in halftones, very nice registration and center crop marks, using the waterproof film, so it dried immediately with no roller marks. The Accurip software saves all your jobs, so you can either print it again or delete it if need be. Thanks for watching. You can find the exclusive BlackMax Ultimate Film Output System and all the inks and supplies seen on this video at silkscreening supplies.com.